Hey, what's up everybody? We are back again, and today we are once again going to be looking at the beef between Spaceghostpurrp and Little Tracy. And I know, I said the last video I did on the subject was going to be the final one, but that was only because I thought they were going to continue on doing the same sort of stuff where Tracy was going to be barely responding to Perp, and Perp was going to keep going on schizo rants. And as entertaining as I find that, and probably all of you do as well, I didn't really think it was worth doing another video on. But it turns out right around the time that I stopped paying attention to it, another big player came into the beef going by the name of Dave Blunts, which ironically I just recently made a video on. And at this point I just can't ignore it anymore. It really does feel like worlds are colliding and all of my favorite rappers are coming together to fight with each other. Truly a beautiful sight. So this all popped off about 2 to 3 weeks ago, right when the Spaceghostpurrp stuff was coming to an end, with Tracy going on his story and sharing a phone call that he had with Dave Blunts where he said, "This nipple calls me to bully me." And honestly, I did see this at the time and didn't think a lot of it. I mean, we all know that Dave Blunts is a little bit of a jokester and he really likes getting in beef in the underground scene, so it makes sense that after Little Tracy got into kind of a high profile beef with Spaceghostpurrp that he would want to get involved. Honestly, the most surprising thing about this whole situation is that Dave Blunts is actually tapped in with Little Tracy. I mean, I understand that Little Tracy is a somewhat big rapper and he has a lot of clout from back in the day, but I never really put him on the same level as somebody like Dave Blunts, who is like the biggest artist in the game right now. And no, I'm not making a fat joke, I'm actually being genuine. I know I talked a little bit of shit about Dave Blunts in my last video, but I do have to say it's pretty cool to see that he actually is tapped in with the underground scene and he is paying attention to what's going on instead of being like 6ix9ine after he started to pop off, only beefing with high profile rappers. I mean, I don't know, man. On one hand it seems like Dave Blunts is doing too much, but on the other he is actually making some pretty smart moves. So let's see how he continues on with this so-called beef. After that, Dave Blunts took it from being private to making it public by sharing a picture of Little Tracy and saying "come on bro" with a bunch of facepalm emojis, basically making fun of the fact that he's a 30-year-old man who's still dressing emo. After that, Little Tracy then hopped on a live stream where he talked about a bunch of stuff, and we'll come back to that later, but the most important moment right now is that he ended up talking about Dave Blunts, with him going on to say the only reason that he called in the first place is because he wants to beat his ass and that he was trying to set up a fight, which is really funny to think about. Could you actually picture Dave Blunts and Little Tracy throwing hands? I mean, if Dave Blunts actually ends up losing a bunch of weight, the two of them definitely should do a boxing match. I would pay to see that. In fact, I would sit in the front row. If you guys do that, I'm there.
It's fucking weird, bro. He's like, "I'll beat y'all." I'm like, "You can't even get up. What are you talking like? Who are you?"
After that, a couple different news pages on Instagram ended up picking up the story. Nobody huge like No Jumper or anything like that, but it was making waves. One in particular called Underground Rap Plug, shout out to them, actually ended up making a post saying Dave Blunts is randomly calling artists to start beef with them now, hashtag Little Tracy. And surprisingly, Dave would go on to shut this down immediately by saying, "Me and Tracy are friends, I love Tracy, we just be trolling each other, laughing emoji, laughing emoji." And I don't know about that one, guys. It kinda seems like you weren't really joking and you might have been doing this to get a little bit of attention on a possible upcoming song between the two of you, which was then confirmed when Tracy ended up posting on his story saying, "I'm just trolling, me and Dave are cool, bro's gonna be on the next album," which is definitely the best outcome. As entertaining as I might find it to see Dave Blunts and Little Tracy get into a back and forth beef over Instagram, I think seeing the two of them together on a song is definitely going to be pretty cool. I mean, Dave Blunts really hasn't done that many features during his career yet, so seeing him hop on a track with Little Tracy is definitely going to be pretty cool, and I honestly can't wait to listen to it. But besides that, there's really nothing more to say about this beef, although I do have a little bit more to say about Dave Blunts, because after my recent video came out, he actually ended up making a post on Instagram talking about everything that's gone on during his career and how he's actually going to take a break to try to get more healthy and maybe lose weight. I'm not really going to overly explain it here, I'm simply going to let it play out so you can listen to it for yourself.
Hi, this message is for my fans and for the niggas that don't like me. First, we're gonna address the fans. I love my fans so very much. You guys have turned my life from poverty into luxury in less than a year, and I feel indebted to you guys for that. I now can take care of my family, my friends, and my mom and everybody that I love because of you guys who listen to my music. So I thank you for that. And because of that, I felt indebted to you. I felt like even though I'm not like healthy enough to go on this tour, I need to do it to prove not only to my fans that I love them enough to give them a good show, and also to the niggas that don't like me and hate me that I can do it. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to finish the tour. And because I'm in the hospital and I'm sick and I'm hooked up to oxygen and all this shit going on, I have to cancel my tour. I'm very sorry. That shit saddens me. I'm not gonna be able to sleep for a little bit because of this. But it's time for me to prioritize my health instead of worrying about all the other shit that doesn't matter. Such as Antonio Brown, like riding my dick randomly in the middle of the night for no reason. All these niggas that just decide to wake up and hop on my dick. I need to not focus on that, and I need to focus on eating right, exercising, and getting better, because that shit is for my fans, and not only for my fans, for me. I need to focus on me. So I'm going to be taking a brief hiatus from the internet, from music, and truly just focus on exercising, eating right, and bettering myself. Not for the fans, not for the bitches, myself. And so that's for the fans. For the niggas that don't like me, please don't think that this shit is over. I promise you I will be back. And I promise you shit is not sweet. Right now, I'm not focused on anybody talking shit about me. I'm not going to respond to anything. But best believe if niggas decide to get on my dick while I'm away, when I come back, nigga, I'm on that ass. So I love y'all, and I'm sorry I got to cancel the tour.
So yeah, there you have it, guys. It seems like Dave Blunts was actually able to drop the character for a little bit to have an open heart-to-heart with all of his fans, and honestly, it's pretty nice to see that he's actually willing to focus on his health and he's not doing it to get more attention. I mean, I gotta give the guy credit where it's worth. He definitely is a lot more intelligent than I first thought, and it seems like he is actually willing to self-reflect and work on himself before he ends up going down the wrong path, which is something that we don't often see from artists when they're at the top of their game, and something that they only seem to learn once they start to fall off. But who knows, maybe Dave Blunts actually ended up seeing my video and he really took it to heart. I'm not saying that he's a bad guy or an evil person. That wasn't my intention with that video, only that he was starting to get into a bit of an echo chamber where he was only growing more and more edgy and getting more of a reaction from his audience, which, like I said before, is only going to get you so far. Eventually people will get tired of it. So it's good to see that he's changing gears before he goes too far. Although hopefully he doesn't take too much time away. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's definitely good for him to get away from the internet and try to focus on his mental health, but at the same time, when you're a poppin' rapper, you can only be away for so long before people start to forget about you. Although I think Dave's gonna be okay. He's already made enough of a spectacle around him and his name at this point that people aren't gonna forget him so easily. Not to mention he still has those big name connections, and he really knows how to market himself. I gotta give him that. So when he comes back, we can expect something crazy to happen, but for right now, Dave, well, I hope you get better. Oh yeah, and real quick, because I don't know where else to put this, the rapper Burn Kaz actually recently got released from prison and he's making a comeback. If you don't know about him, I actually did a video on him a while back talking about his entire story. Honestly, it's kind of a sad one where he ended up going down for a crime that he didn't commit, and then he had to sit in prison for 6.5 years for a simple gun charge. So it's really cool to see that he's actually free. Him and Drown Millie actually ended up appearing in a music video together on World Star Hip Hop, so if you want to check that out, get more in tune with him, you definitely can. And well, the only reason I brought it up is because Burn Kaz actually ended up linking up with Dave Blunts as well, which means one of two things. Either Dave Blunts is a lot more tapped in than I ever gave him credit for, or Burn Kaz is really good at getting himself in situations where he can get clout. But either way, it's cool to see. And with all that said, let's move on from Dave Blunts and let's get back to our main two characters. Because right around the time that all of this was going on, Spaceghostpurrp and little Tracy continued to beef, and I know how much you guys love reading out these stories with me, so well, let's get into it. So it kicks off with little Tracy posting on his story saying it's even more funny because I'm still gonna listen to this N-word music. He too fire to not be on the road constantly. N-words be confused. So really, Tracy isn't being all that disrespectful. He's simply saying that Spaceghostpurrp is very influential, he makes good music, and he deserves to be in a better place than where he's at now, which honestly I kind of agree with. However, Spaceghostpurrp is the most destructive man to ever live, so he continues on his own story by saying, for those of you who don't know why this pussy ass motherfucker Tracy is in my business about Black Cray, this goofy Tracy trying to push Booty Chain out the way because Tracy likes boys. This whole shit about Cray is towards Cray's girlfriend. Her name is Booty Chain, and if y'all think Tracy's in my business about Booty Chain, then I'm gonna really get rid of him just like I'm about to get rid of Cray. And I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna get rid of everybody. Booty Chain is my girl now. I touched her when Cray was calling her phone. Cray is a cuck, Booty Chain aka hipster coochie. Now I truly do not understand what Spaceghostpurrp's obsession with Booty Chain is. Apparently he must find her really attractive because he's actually been talking about her for years and years at this point. Every time he gets in a beef, he seems to bring Black Cray and Booty Chain into it. Now remember, this entire beef kicked off because Spaceghostpurrp at one point or another ended up making fun of Black Cray, which little Tracy really didn't like, as after all, he looks up to Cray and the two of them are friends. So that kind of brings the entire thing full circle. Apparently Spaceghostpurrp doesn't like Black Cray because he likes his girlfriend, he wants her to be with him, so he started dissing Cray, which made Tracy mad, and well, that's where you get the whole vampire beef. Damn boys, I really thought all of this shit was about who was the first vampire. I thought you guys really cared, but no, it turns out you guys are beefing over a woman, and I'm sorry, but no true vampire would ever do that. So Spaceghostpurrp, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to take away your vamp license. You can get it back after you take a sobriety test. And little Tracy, you're on thin ice, buddy. You gotta leave Booty Chain alone. But nah, for real, Spaceghostpurrp is probably talking out of his ass. I doubt little Tracy is trying to get after Black Cray's girlfriend. I really think he's being truthful when he says the only reason that he's coming at Spaceghostpurrp is because he doesn't like the fact that he's disrespecting Black Cray, which is fair. After that, Purrp finally stopped talking shit, at least on Instagram, but over on Facebook he would continue on by saying, just seen little Tracy selling his booty hole at the Motel 6. They sent me the video of him selling his booty hole in Arizona. He had on booty shorts, a tank top, and a blonde wig. Shit was hilarious, because if you claim you lit when you speaking on a motherfucker like me that got 4,000 people on the account, because your ass is guilty, that's why. We know your ass out there sleeping at the Motel 6 by the dumpster. Tracy, do you need some Wendy's? You always walk past Wendy's looking for a cock to suck on for a couple dollars. Your music garbage as fuck. You fell off. Wait, you was always trash. You just like Cyber. You put on lipstick and get smashed in the forest and then cry about it. And that's where he took it too far. Okay, Purrp, you can make fun of Tracy as much as you want. You can even go at Black Cray. But as soon as you start coming after Cyber, that's when you got issues with me. Leave that man alone. You gotta leave Cyber alone. He's the most influential artist of all time. You wish you could be Cyber. I mean, I know the guy ended up taking some Vicks Vapor Rub at one point and had a bit of a schizophrenic episode, but that was a one-time thing. You're in a constant schizophrenic episode. If there was a schizo off, you would definitely win, but in every other category, Cyber's got you wiped down. Sorry, brother. And then after that, he says one more day until the race war pops off, which honestly, it's been more than a day since then, and I'm kind of disappointed. You tell me one thing, Purrp, and then you don't follow through, and that's why I can't trust you anymore. After that, he continues to get on Tracy's ass by saying this motherfucker Tracy Minaj be performing at Amazon storage places, talking about he be on tour. Motherfucker, you perform where they make toilets at a random ass warehouse. So which is it, Purrp? Is he at the Wendy's sucking somebody's dick, or is he in the Amazon warehouse performing? Because those are two very different things. I can respect the Amazon warehouse. There's nothing wrong with performing where toilets are made. I mean, the audience can listen to some rap and take a crap at the same time. Honestly, it sounds like a pretty breathtaking experience, and I wouldn't be hating on Tracy for that one. After that, he goes on to say, tell little Tracy when me and my N-words in Miami-Dade County, he gonna end up in a casket on JIT, emo ass fuck N-word, yo mama Coco a eater, I'm a nut in her mouth. He then continues on by saying Spaceghostpurrp gonna shoot little Tracy when he sees him. After that, he then takes another shot at little Tracy's mom by saying, Tracy Minaj, hey, this your mama Instagram, the real Coco. I'm gonna put my hand over her mouth and put a Glock in her twat and then blow that shit out. She gonna meet all my deceased ops. And I mean, come on, Purrp, that's just straight up vulgar. If you really want to get at little Tracy's mom, you gotta take her on a nice date, maybe buy her some flowers, some chocolate, take her to a fancy restaurant. I know you have it in her. Wait, no, I mean, I know you have it in you, but I mean, if it goes right, you might have it in her at the same time. I mean, it could happen, Purrp. Think about it. And then after that, you can give little Tracy a Wendy's hamburger that he doesn't even have to suck a dick to get. That would truly be respectful. It would end the beef and make all three of you one big happy family. But unfortunately, Purrp is not a man of class. He's a man of action. So he takes a shot at Coco by saying, the real Coco, little Tracy's mom, how you doing? Can I smash your mouth? And I see you, Purrp, I see you. I mean, you're a little bit older than me, so I'm not really sure how you romance women your age, but I mean, maybe this line of attack would actually work. But unfortunately, with your prior story where you said you're gonna kill her, she's probably not gonna be that into it. After that, he goes on to say, little Tracy, your ass look like a transgender Pringle logo, which is kind of funny. If you look at the mustache, he does kind of look like the Pringle logo, but I mean, he's not a transgender, man, come on. If he was, we know that Dave Blunts wouldn't be messing with him and that beef would actually be real. So it's confirmed that little Tracy is not a transgender, he's 100% real man. I find it really funny that there was actually a couple people in my comment section on the last video talking about that one remark that I made about chicks with a dick. Guys, I gotta be serious with you right here. That was a complete and utter true thing. That's actually true. I really do believe that. There's nothing wrong with a chick with a dick. Twisted World 2025. You can't play slots without a lever. We stand on it and we don't stop.
What's your name?
Sasha.
No, what's your real name?
Carlo. What's your name?
Marco.
And just like we don't stop, Space Ghost Perp doesn't stop either, because he continues on by saying, Tracy, walrus ass looking ass nipple. I'm not gonna lie, Perp, you're kind of milking it at this point. The Pringles joke was funny, the walrus thing was kind of a little bit overboard, but then he continues on by saying the war is official. It's us hood N-words versus emo hipster ass N-words. We finna get rid of those emo hipster ass motherfuckers. And then he goes on to show a gun emoji. But honestly, Perp, you're kind of an emo motherfucker yourself, so what side of that war are you gonna be on? And what about Chapo, man? They're gonna have to rip him in half, because he's definitely a hood dude and he's also an emo dude. I mean, you can be the best of both worlds. Please don't put Chapo in the middle of this. He doesn't deserve it. And then after that, little Tracy ended up going on that same live stream which I was talking about before with Dave Blunts, where he had a little bit more to say about Space Ghost Perp. And this was honestly a really funny move from Tracy, because he basically was playing into everything that Space Ghost Perp was saying, with him being in a hotel crying, saying that he needed money from his fans and that he couldn't make it anymore because he was fully falling off.
Ever since bro died, I just was struggling. I just... Fuck!
The rocket statistic, we just gonna glaze over that when it was these guys doing something.
Damn, man, it's been tough, man.
Guys had at least 20 and shot 50%. Fred Van Fleet, Ahmed Thompson, and Billy Brooks did it tonight. Okay, now let's move on.
Please, cash at me, send me whatever, bro. Like, just help a nigga out, man. I fell off. You know what I'm saying?
And for some reason, Space Ghost Perp didn't realize that little Tracy was mocking him, and he was taking this completely seriously by commenting on the live stream, basically saying, haha, I got you, I knew you were falling off, and I know you're sucking dick for money. And once again, I gotta say, Perp is a complete enigma. Sometimes he seems like he's really intelligent and he actually knows what he's doing, but in cases like this, he seems as dumb as a sack of rocks. And then after that, we actually got a recent live stream from Tracy, which only happened about 3 to 4 days ago, where he seems to be very inebriated, either on drugs or most likely alcohol. And if you can understand him, he's basically talking about how crazy it is that he actually has beef with Space Ghost Perp, because for years he looked up to him and now he's fighting with him. And honestly, I understand that feeling. It's pretty crazy when you get noticed by one of your favorite rappers, even if they are completely out of their mind.
I'll sit here and count your name down. SUT is a freak. Oh, but his ass beat. I got beef on. I'm not gonna lie though. He the real goat. I'm not gonna lie, he the goat. He the goat. But I got beef with his ass because he was speaking on Craig, and I don't play about Craig. Man, that's real shit. I don't play about Craig.
But it seems like Perp no longer wants to engage with this. In fact, I can't even find his Instagram anymore. He either blocked me or he ended up taking it down. But if you guys have his new one, definitely point it out to me. And if he actually ended up getting off Instagram, well, we lost a real one. However, we're not quite done here yet, because I actually need to talk about one more thing that Space Ghost Perp said recently, because it turns out that he actually ended up squashing the beef with ASAP Rocky. With Perp hopping on Twitter to say the beef between ASAP Rocky and Space Ghost Perp is finally squashed via phone, and Rihanna is officially a part of the underground family, and this is not cap. And if this is actually true and Space Ghost Perp isn't just capping about it, it's pretty insane to think, because this beef has been going on for the better part of 14 years. There is so much history that goes into this beef, and if you guys want an entire video on that, I can definitely do so. But for right now, I'm only going to give you the important details. Basically, way back in the day in 2008, Space Ghost Perp got a start in the rap game by starting up this collective known as Raider Clan. This was comprised of a bunch of different underground rappers from Florida, but eventually it would get so big that it started to expand into different places around the country. And during the time that Raider Clan was really blowing up, Space Ghost Perp was going back and forth from Florida to New York. And oftentimes when he was in New York, he would click up with the ASAP Mob, which was a collective that was founded all the way back in 2006 and was headed by ASAP Yams and Rocky. And it wasn't long before Perp and Rocky became close friends, with them often doing freestyles together, which they'd post on YouTube, as well as a rumored collaboration album that was supposed to come out sometime sometime in 2011. However, unfortunately, Spaceghostpurrp wasn't able to hold it together, and there ended up being an incident where he would punch a Fader employee in the face, and after that, the ASAP mob was kind of looking at him like he was damaged goods. At this point in late 2011, ASAP Rocky was really starting to blow up, so of course he was trying to clean up his reputation in hopes of getting a massive record deal and the most money that he could. So having somebody around like Spaceghostpurrp, who was completely schizophrenic and out of his mind, constantly flip-flopping between being angry and happy, was not something that he needed at the time, so he would start to distance himself a little bit. On top of that, the Fader employee would press charges, meaning that Spaceghostpurrp would have to turn himself in, so he would go to Rocky to ask what to do, and apparently Rocky told him that he shouldn't turn himself in and it wasn't a big deal, so Perp simply went back to Florida to hang out with Raider Clan. And then Rocky would go on to say the reason that Perp left the state in the first place was to try to get away from the police, with Perp coming after Rocky, saying that he was the one who told him to leave in the first place. Now, we don't know if Rocky actually ever said that in the first place, or if Perp is lying. It can be very frustrating covering Spaceghostpurrp beefs, because with the way that he is, a lot of people that he beefs with don't like to reply to him because they don't want to feed into it anymore, leading us to only get one side of the story, which is Perp's side, which is probably not true half of the time. But no matter if Rocky said that or not, this led Perp to feel like he got stabbed in the back by the entire ASAP mob, with him going on to say that the mob had taken all of their style from Raider Clan. And not only that, but he would also get all the other members of Raider Clan involved, basically starting this whole collective beef between the ASAP mob and Raider Clan. And this would all reach a fever pitch when apparently ASAP Ferg disrespected Spaceghostpurrp's dead brother, so he would go on to talk shit about ASAP Yams, who at that point had already passed away, with him even going on to get Chapo to make a whole diss track against ASAP Yams called Smoking Yams, which would then lead XXXTentacion and Denzel Curry to make a diss track on him called Space Ghost Pussy. There's really a lot of different aspects when it comes to this beef, but long story short, Spaceghostpurrp basically ended up tearing apart Raider Clan because he couldn't let go of his hatred for ASAP Mob, and ASAP Rocky went on to become an incredibly famous artist who is now married to Rihanna. And for years and years, Spaceghostpurrp has been incredibly bitter, saying that he basically turned ASAP Rocky into everything he is nowadays, being upset that he's the one who got famous and that he left him behind in the dust. Where when Rocky actually does speak about Perp, he basically only says that he's schizophrenic and bipolar and that he doesn't fuck with him because he's completely out of his mind, which is definitely a fair assessment. And because of that, I kind of have my doubts that ASAP Rocky actually ended up talking to Perp on the phone. I mean, you would think that he would completely leave this guy behind and not give him any attention, because after all, ASAP Rocky basically has everything to lose and Spaceghostpurrp doesn't really have anything. However, I do think that I've found out the reason that Perp thinks that the beef is squashed. It all comes down to the fact that recently Playboi Carti ended up putting out an album called I Am Music, and one of the songs off that project, going by the name of Crank, actually has a writing credit from Spaceghostpurrp. Now, I don't think that this is anything all that serious. I don't think that Perp was sitting in the studio when Playboi Carti recorded the song or anything like that. It's probably just some old sample that ended up getting reused, so they had to credit Spaceghostpurrp because he's the one who originally made it and probably still has copyright ownership over it. However, it seems like this made Perp really happy, because after he saw that the song was going to appear on the album, he would instantly hop on his story saying that the beef between him and Playboi Carti was now over. And if you're wondering why Spaceghostpurrp and Playboi Carti have beef, it's really not all that deep. It comes down to the fact that back in the day when Playboi Carti was first starting off in the rap game, he was trying to become part of ASAP Mob, with him getting connected to ASAP Rocky, getting the VLON tattoo on his neck, basically doing anything he could to show support to the group in hopes of getting a little bit of clout off of them, which eventually worked out. Although there was one condition: if Playboi Carti was really going to get put on by ASAP Rocky, then he needed to show loyalty to the group, and the only way that he could do so was by going to a show and saying fuck Spaceghostpurrp. And if you know anything about Playboi Carti's come up, you know that he was willing to even throw his best friends under the bus if it meant that it would open up an opportunity for him to gain a little bit more fame. So saying fuck you to a guy that he didn't even know was really easy for him, and well, he went through with it. I'll show you the clip right here.
Clutch going in this bitch, man. Shout out to my whole gang. ASAP in this bitch. I just signed the ASAP Rocky, man. Make some noise, man. We laying this bitch. Yeah. Shout out to my bro Ian Connor. The whole ASAP rest in peace films. All gang. Fuck that nigga Spaceghostpurrp. I'm fuck that nigga, dog. Yeah.
And all of that went down back in 2016, meaning that Spaceghostpurrp has basically held a grudge for almost a decade at this point, but now that Playboi Carti has done something that he actually likes, apparently the beef is over. Now, I seriously doubt the two of them ever had a conversation. Maybe Spaceghostpurrp can prove me wrong by posting the DMs, but to me, I really feel like there's no way that Playboi Carti would ever talk to Spaceghostpurrp in the year of 2025. However, I could be wrong because Lucky and Playboi Carti actually recently had a beef, so it seems like he's a little bit off his game and he has been responding to other rappers more frequently than ever before. So who knows, it could be true, it could be false, we never really know when it comes to Spaceghostpurrp, but when it comes to Playboi Carti, we're never going to get a response from him because he never really talks. But if this actually is somehow true, it's kind of nice to see. Apparently Spaceghostpurrp actually can have character growth even after the age of 35 years old, so I guess we have no choice but to say W Perp for finally changing his ways. Although, I mean, he started 2 new beefs recently, so maybe not, but hey, it's some sort of growth. So with all that said, what do you think about this entire situation? Do you want to see Dave Blunts get better and healthier, or are you more entertained by him when he's unhealthy and crashing out? Are you hoping that Spaceghostpurrp is going to go on a more peaceful route? What do you think about little Tracy? Let me know all of that in the comments below. I'll tell you what I think. I definitely want to see Dave Blunts and Spaceghostpurrp go back and forth. I think that'd be the most entertaining beef of the summer of 2025, and I also want to see Spaceghostpurrp beef with Kanye, because that would be the most entertaining beef of forever. A man can dream, a man can dream. But for now, that's all I have to say. Leave delete this in the comments below. Delete this gang is stronger than ever, and I will see you in the next one. Lucky beef video coming soon, and much more coming after that. Although I think tomorrow we're gonna have to have a little bit more of a serious video, so stick around for that. See you all there, and well, Spaceghostpurrp forever! Peace out.